The next chapter, she looked at these two individuals. Thinking about what was said, she went into deep thoughts. She tried to piece together what would have happened, and she thought they were doing the deed. She thought there was no way he would do the deed after all. He was a cleaning addict. The black hair girl completely fit Kiyomi's ideal girl and thought she got dumped. Kiyomi spawned in and asked if she was going to have lunch. Instead of responding, she couldn't eye-to-eye him and requested him to inform the teacher she was still ill. Walking away, she recognized being cheated and dumped on, but this time it was special. Our boy stopped her and started to ask her questions. He tried to reach his hand out but was hesitant. She asked if he went anymore after being with her. "No, I went straight home." He responded, but Nanjou thought this was false. She was upset and left infirmary, eventually saying she didn't want to talk to him. She came to class during the second period but didn't talk to our main character. Neither was she responding to his text. He was thinking about what he may have done, but nothing clicked. Kiyomi didn't know she misunderstood what occurred earlier and thought she lost interest. Eventually things may go back to normal, and he tried to call out to her. Kiyomi darkened and the Hanami protagonist was behind him. Kitagami and Honda were feeding each other while our boy was just looking. Honda was chill with him being here while Kitagami wasn't. She couldn't spend time with him because they were in different classes. They were talking about their anime games and wanted to invite Nanjou. He told them Nanjou wasn't talking to him and Honda asked if something happened. He didn't know what may have occurred, but maybe it was because he was an introvert. He thought it was fine if they were to break up. Kitagami asked if the thing on his bag was a gift from Nanjou. She offered to trade Madoka for Ruru because she was a fan of what he had. She grabbed it and said if they were going to break up, what is the point of keeping it? He recognized how right she was but thought about her gift. He grabbed her arm, causing her to release Ruru, and Kitagawa knew he wouldn't grab her like this before. He blushed, wanting to keep it, and she teased him, making him mad. Honda realized he liked Nanjou, but he disagreed. He changed his mind faster than media coverage of a WNBA game. He did like Nanjou. Honda gave him peak advice while his girl hugged his arm. He started to leave, and Kitagawa told him good luck. He didn't want to go back like before, and even if she did lose interest, he had to accept it. He was unable to find her, assuming she left due to her illness. He left his bag at the school rooftop and went to retrieve it, but Nanjou and Kitagawa were there. Nanjou asked if she was dating Kiyomi. She told him even though Kitagawa was his ideal girlfriend, she still wanted to approach him and couldn't stop thinking about him. She was blushing about how precious Kiyomi was to her. Kitagawa was glad everything was all right with Kiyomi. Nanjou turned around quickly, and she sounded unsure. Kitagawa was actually Honda's girlfriend, and if Honda can pull, you can pull. She turned to a stone figure, telling him he was with her at night, but it was an online game. Kitagawa was going to do naughty stuff and got scared when Nanjou came. She laughed it off, thinking she was dumb. She said sorry. He grabbed her hands, asking if they could go out again. She said it was obvious they'll stay together and told him if they weren't to break up, they can do it together. Kitagawa suggested a foursome, but our boy loudly said no. Nanjou blushed at the thought of 4 people, and it was just a joke. She had never done a foursome and asked Kiyomi to teach her. The next day, they'll be going to Honda's house, and Kitagawa will be there. Nanjou apologized for making him wait, and it was the first time they'll be going to Honda's house together for games. He was just staring at how dazzling she was, and she thought something was up. He didn't think he could pull, and she filled his heart with happiness. His apartment was 5,000 American hot dogs tall, or 75,000 centimeters, and he lives alone in high school. They welcomed him to his apartment, and the first thing they noticed was Kiyomi wasn't wearing his school uniform. They were both complimented about their clothes. They were going to do a 2 versus 2, but Nanjou was just a beginner and he tried to argue. She was shockingly stacked in the game, of course, and somehow won. She brought her hands out for a high hive and was left hanging because he was a clean freak. Kitagawa was just staring while having deep thoughts. She wanted Nanjou to call her Mayu and asked if they had sex before. They both blushed and she picked up, "They haven't." She seemed like an expert on this topic. She asked if they kissed and he should remove his tack. He knew she was right and wanted to touch Nanjou because they're dating. He didn't want to worry about those words anymore because that incident happened in the past. He didn't know what to do, and she read his mind. Kitagawa was giving a speech on what to do and what makes women happy. Take notes. Kitagawa was proud to announce how good Honda's foreplay was. and by his looks it was obvious. She was asked if her thoughts were the same and if Kiyomi touched her, she would be pretty happy. She wanted them to do it sometime, and wanted a foursome afterwards. Kitagawa wanted to touch Nanjou but didn't want to do it at all with Kiyomi, and he didn't want any of this. She had sweets to offer, and Nanjou felt ashamed talking about this. Kiyomi thought Nanjou was a little girl, and she became embarrassed. She asked why he always just blurted things out. Honda thought they were close. Honda and Kitagawa started dating in middle school because of their good chemistry. Nanjou was asked if she was always like this. She was plain during middle school and started to say negative things about herself. Kitagawa thought she looked like some gal model, and she was glad. She tried to become like her and wanted to work in a shop like her. He thought it was amazing how she knew her future, calling her awesome. The boys were doing their small talk while the females were talking in essays. Kitagawa knew the other girls didn't like her and wanted her to feel relaxed around her. Her face lit up when Kitagawa asked if they could be friends. She was happy because she didn't have many friends and accepted the invite to go shopping. Nanjou thought it was fun and started to talk. He wanted to get rid of his cleaning freakiness. He wants to change like Nanjou and asked if she wanted to hold hands. She smiled at first, confused, then reached her hand. He set out to teach her hand and thought her hands were warm and soft. She thought he was touching her in a sexual way and didn't mind it at all. She realized Kitagawa was correct in that touching someone you love made you happy. He was joyful to touch her. He wanted to know if he looked better with his glasses. This was because she wanted him to not wear anything fancy. She thought no one would recognize his change and wanted to be the only one who knows this version of him. The only one? He thought about the meaning of this, and she was embarrassed. She thought he didn't understand, but he got it. He thought of her as a little girl, and she didn't like that comment. It's been a whole month since they've been dating. They still do not hold hands, but she embraces what he can do or cannot. She thought if he manages to get over his clean freak era, then they can do more than hold hands. She started to blush, and her own thoughts and Kiyomi picked up her thoughts that were weird. She said it was nothing but the rain. This somehow scared her, and she became drenched. Kiyomi read on his phone. It won't stop anytime soon, and she was in disbelief. She suggested buying an umbrella, but they couldn't enter, being that drenched. His house was nearby, and it worked for him, but he mentions Nanjou would always take the train. She was confused and completely drenched. He didn't want her going looking like that, and she looked at her buttons. Calling him a pervert, he began to panic. She liked it when he panicked. He didn't want her to take the train and invited her to his place. He started to leave, and she didn't expect this. She thought if she went to his place, she would encounter his mom, wondering if she should bring a present. They arrived, and he welcomed her, and she apologized for intruding. She asked about his parents, and his dad was working while his mother was taking lessons. He wanted her to take a bath or she would catch cold and the water warm and hot. She thought the water felt nice, and if it's just the both of them and she was taking a shower, does that mean they're definitely going to do it? Maybe this was his plan after all, she thought. She was nervous, not thinking about what would have happened when she came. They have not kissed, unfortunately, and maybe he was rushing. She would have to take the lead since it was his first time, and these were all her thoughts. Kiyomi called for her name, asking if she was okay. This scared her, causing her to make a strange noise, and she received a towel. She was having very deep thoughts during her time in the shower, having lewd thoughts. She yelled, "What was I thinking?" And our boy was wondering what the fuck was happening. In his bedroom, she was tired and was wearing the only clothes our boy could give. It was Akira Memo merchandise. He sacrificed his limited time for her to be clothed. What a real one. He went to take a shower. She was staring at a cup and knew he always used this cup to drink from. She started to drink from the cup and thought it was an indirect kiss. This caused her to blush, realizing she was too conscious. She didn't mind doing it after all, and her thoughts started drifting more and more. He apologized for making her sit on the floor and waiting to let her sit on the bed. She thought the word bed was time for their beginning. He asked if they should do it, and she was ready to do it. She was excited in her head about doing it until our boy asked, which game? She misunderstood, and they had to wait for her clothes to dry. The bad part was, he only had one joystick, so no fighting games. She was disappointed not being able to do it because he is a clean freak after all. They were playing the game intensely, and Madoka rejected Nanjou. She couldn't comprehend why. Our boy started to talk about the requirements she didn't meet in order for Madoka to love you. She said it didn't matter as long as there is love, but it was just a game. Their hands accidentally touched and he was shocked by it. She was flustered, questioning if not doing anything in her boyfriend's house was normal. It was still raining and her inability to touch Kiyomi made her pout. She thought about his lack of sex drive and didn't want him to stay like a gentleman at that time. She realized from the beginning she has just been thinking about lewd stuff. Kiyomi was looking for a game while Nanjou was just disappointed about her thoughts. She claimed she was going to die due to embarrassment while rolling around, and Kiyomi said Madoka also rejected him on the first try. He asked why her face was red if she just got out of the shower a while. He stood over her, wondering if she caught another cold. She immediately turned red and it hit our boy that he stood weird. He apologized for his mistake and wanted to put her first. She recollected my feelings from him and pulled him closer. He was in the position totally ready and she wanted him to put her feelings first. She took off her shirt slowly and wanted to do it. He asked for her consent, something everyone should do before claiming he was a man, and couldn't resist such a seduction from her. She was ready to do it, and he started to touch. "I'm home," a voice yelled. Someone called for Kiyomi and she started to talk about her early dismissal. She questioned a different pair of shoes at her home and asked if a friend came over. He rushed out the door and she was just trying to comprehend what happened. She realized what she was going to do to him. Nanjou met the woman at the door and was going to leave. While walking to the train station, none of them uttered a word. He was wondering why he was acting so weird. Nanjou wanted him to wait to ask if he wanted to hold hands. Their hands reached to touch together and Kiyomi was blushing. She somehow said, "See you tomorrow." In such a cute way, he was flustered. Standing on the train, she was wondering what happened earlier. If Kiyomi's mother didn't come back, they would have surely done it. Going to her boyfriend's house and doing the deed wasn't a big deal to her. She realized Kiyomi was a different breed and realized she wanted to be embraced by Kiyomi. She crouched down on the train, embarrassed. It was the first time she had these feelings. She was now heavily attracted to Kiyomi and wanted to see him even after spending the whole day with him. She really wished tomorrow would be coming soon. "Kiyomi, let's hang out this weekend," Nanjou said while on the school rooftop. Since it's been a month they've been dating, she wanted to go on an anniversary date. Kiyomi didn't look amused, and when she asked where they should go, he would follow her. She turned firm, wanting to decide together. He reluctantly accepted, and she started rambling about what they should do, but his only experience was video games. She had an idea ready and was asking about it. She was happy it was a sunny day for hiking. She was wearing different clothes compared to her school uniform, and Kiyomi asked if she really wanted to climb the mountain. He did want to go and was thinking about his video games. He imagined hiking would be quite difficult, but there was a course for beginners. He recognized Nanjou's outfit was casual, and she caught him just staring. He started thinking it was the wrong place and imagined what she would wear if they went to the beach. He started developing lewd thoughts, and when he sees her, his manly desires to touch her arises. Being a clean freak, these thoughts hurt his pride as a clean freak. His mind was scrambling, and Nanjou was looking at him weirdly. She came up to him, telling him, "Are you disappointed because I'm not showing enough skin?" She was shocked by this and let him see some skin by taking some of her top off. Her pride was soon shut down when an insect decided to enter those melons. He got rid of the insect somehow, and he thought this was more lewd than a swimsuit. She was scared of stingers, but wasn't scared of his stinger. Just like Nanjou explained earlier, it felt like a beginner's course for hiking. Nanjou was ahead of him, and it shouldn't be a major deal, right? He was exhausted because he never left his house and hiking was too reckless for him. Nanjou saw Kiyomi was exhausted and let him take a break, but he thought he was useless for this. She didn't think so. She persuaded him into coming. She asked if wanted to keep going, and he thought she wanted to see the view. He asked if she was pushing herself too much, but she wasn't stressing too hard. Eventually, they reached their destination with their bags on. She looked enthusiastic and ready to observe the view, and our boy was mesmerized by the view. She pointed towards the mountains, calling it beautiful, and our thought coming here would have been a mistake. She took photos with him, smiling with joy. She was starving from that hike and wanted to sit on a 1999 school bench. She sat down, telling Kiyomi she made bentos. His face turned disoriented, and somehow this was also from the Madoka game they were playing. She wasn't good at cooking and would buy something if he wanted. He was thinking about game scenarios, and she didn't think it was fancy. She asked for his opinions, and it looked great on the outside. But his inner otaku realized something about the bento, and she asked if he got it. The bento was the same one Madoka made. She wanted him to be happy, thus researching and learning about the game and things related. He turned sheepish for all she had done for him and recalled words from earlier. He wanted to remove the gal aspect from her, and then she will become his ideal type. She wanted him to try this and started to feed him after he said, "Ah." The chopsticks were brand new, and this event occurred in Kiramimo as well. It was as delicious as it looked, and he brought his lunch his mother made for him. He was going to eat both of the meals, and she thought the potatoes were cute. He picked up one shaped like a cat and decided to give one. Not expecting this situation, she accepted with gratitude and quietly said it was like an indirect kiss. He didn't mind the situation much. It seemed like he was getting over his cleaning addiction, but rather it was all because of her he was comfortable. She wanted to buy keychains that would match from the store nearby. She looked over to him and said he had a rice grain attached to his face. He didn't know where, and she would voluntarily get it off for him. Once again, this scene has occurred in Kiramemo. In that event, the main character gave a kiss out of surprise and wondered if he had the guts to do it. If it was a kiss, he should prepare for it, and he was obsessed with being clean but her looks. He lunged over kissing her, and she was not expecting this clean freak to kiss her. After a few seconds, they both were embarrassed. She asked why, after all, our boy was a neat boy. He just wanted to enjoy the moments of kissing, and he did really want to kiss her. She asked if they could do it one more time because she really liked it. His old self wouldn't have thought he would be able to kiss a female. Currently, he wanted to do it with her for eternity. It was tiring and fun for her. She wanted to add a keychain to her bag, and Kiyomi liked her bento. She wanted to make another one for themselves, and if they did make one again, he would gladly accept. A success this date was. And she also wanted to stay together.